Hey, this is Brandon Crawford from the San Francisco Giants, and you're listening to Torture Cast.
You're listening to a podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants.
Let's go, Giants!
With hosts Willie Dills, Chad King, Ben Lee, and Eric Nathanson. Dedicated to the greatest team in Major League Baseball, the San Francisco Giants. This is Torture Cast.
Standing on time, not gonna stop. We came to play, ain't slowing down. Falling on, we're here to stay, and we're stomping on whatever's in our way. I'm feeling like a Giant tonight.
It's Monday, August 28th, 2017, and this is episode 128 of the Torture Cast, not 127, like we thought last week was 128. It's not 129, it's 128. The podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. I'm your host, Chad King, and joining me tonight, all the way from Florida, actually not actively being pelted by a hurricane as far as I know, Eric Nathanson. Eric, what's up, man?
Not much. There's actually all sorts of rain to the south and another storm forming to the north, and we're really getting nothing. So I'm good. I'm in the cone of favor right now. So I'm just kind of hanging out and watching late season baseball.
Not the cone of shame, much like the Giants are in right now. Also joining us is a man about 70 miles north of me, so he's just hovering above me right now. Ben, how you doing, man?
It's actually just 70 miles above, like literally just in the sky, which is roughly how far ahead the Dodgers feel at the moment.
It's a good analogy. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm really sorry that you just let me. You teed that one up for me because it was there, and I wish it wasn't there, and that's where we are.
You're getting a hell of a signal from outer space. I gotta say, it's pretty. You're coming through nice and clear. It's some good
no obstacles.
Well, I mean,
good line of sight.
ISS can take photos of the Earth and then post them on Twitter. I figure, I'm doing okay.
That's a fair point.
They're
really cool photos, also. But anyway,
they are.
They're
very,
but
very
I
cool.
digress.
Yeah. Gosh, I didn't even put this in the notes, but I mean, we might as well start off there because it's been a few weeks since we recorded. I mean, the Giants, they were officially eliminated last week, which it's kind of funny because it kind of felt like they were eliminated months ago.
Right. We were all just sort of waiting for the other shoe to drop.
But mathematically, of course, it just happened last week, and that's just from the NL West race because wild card still have a chance, right?
Elimination number is 12 in the wild card race.
Sorry.
They're mathematically
that was a
alive.
bad joke.
But you're right, Chad. We all just kind of ended the season.
It ain't over till it's over.
That's
but we
right.
ended the season months ago in our head with the way they started. I mean, they're 52-80. It's not a good record.
Well, it's basically over, but it ain't over until it. Hell.
Yeah.
They're 40 and a half games out in the division. Not that it matters anymore.
Yeah, but I mean, it's pretty goddamn historic. I mean, this is the quickest the Giants have ever been eliminated. And I heard on ESPN the other day, I did not confirm this by looking it up, but over the radio they said this was the earliest a division contender or a team had ever been eliminated from a division race in MLB history.
Wow.
So that
I don't like
hurt.
that wow, but wow.
But wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially considering the fact that, playoffs have expanded a little bit. You'd figure back in the old days where it was just National League and American League, you're going to have the worst team in the National League and the best team in the National League. So you're going to have the maximum separation between those two teams. They may not necessarily be in the NL West, East, or Central, but this year it kind of worked out that way with the Dodgers being the best and the Giants at least being right there with the Phillies as being the worst in the NL. So you had that almost widest separation in the West, and the Dodgers are having a historic season, and the Giants are also having a historic season too. So
the rivalry is best when both teams. All right, I'm done. I'm not even going to bother.
You're done. No, it's bad. And and the Dodgers come to town in a couple of weeks, and I was thinking about going to one of the games, and I mean, are there going to be 50 games back at that point? I mean, literally, it's like, geez, man. They can't
the Dodgers
they can't spoil anything at this point.
Nope. They can spoil wild card stuff, but even then, it's the D-backs just showed this weekend that that's not going to happen.
Yeah. D-backs said, never mind.
Yeah, they had their chance, and then they didn't. It's funny that them and the Phillies are the two worst teams in the National League, because just 7 years ago we watched those two teams battle it out to be the best team in the
For the
National League.
NLCS.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I was looking at the standings today. The 5 best teams in the National League that year were the Reds, the Phillies, the Giants, the Braves, and the Padres. And they're 5 of the 6 worst teams in the National League now. So it's funny to see how far they've fallen, but the Giants managed to scoop up some championships, thankfully.
Oh, yeah. No,
Right. One of these teams won things in the interim, I guess. I mean, after a certain point, you're not resting on your laurels. You're just going back to your laurels for the sake of not going insane. So I guess there's that.
Well, I think that's how earlier the season was, but now that they're like so far behind, it's kind of like, all right, I just hope that it's fun, when you put a game on, because the average fan is not watching 9 innings of baseball a night anymore. I'm not, you're not, nobody is. We're not there as often as we would be if they were a more competitive team. So when we put it on, we hope to see Hunter do his thing, or maybe Buster do his thing, or Jared Parker start hitting the ball hard. At least we still can find some joy out of it, and these teams are still struggling and fighting, like the Padres. Could you imagine being a Padres fan? Oy, Gavolt, forget about it.
Forget about it.
All in on that one.
It's true. I mean, they were good in 2010, and the Giants fought them right down to the wire on the last day of the season. But other than that, the Padres haven't had much to root for. The Giants have had plenty of success. Most of their years over the last 10 have been successful. This is clearly the worst team the Giants have had in decades, really, and it could end up being their worst team ever in terms of record. We don't know yet, but they're on pace still for over 100 losses, which is quite scary because they're already at 80 losses, so they only have 20 more to go.
Right,
and that would match their.
They're getting
maximum.
close, I tell you.
It's not even September.
No, that's the problem. Is that if they kind of finish August out here with a whimper the last 3 days here, I mean, there's a chance they could play 500 in September and still finish with 100 losses, just about. So, I mean, to not finish with 100 losses, the Giants have to play above 500 in the month of September, and they haven't had a winning month since June of 2016. So that's not good. You're talking July, August, September of last year, and every single month this year so far. August is yet to be determined, but that sweep by Arizona certainly put the kibosh on a guaranteed winning month.
Yeah,
right
they need
now.
a series. They need a series win in San Diego, and
Right.
they could have their first winning month in a long time.
So they're right
it's
there,
funny.
basically at 500. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing I think that makes it tolerable, along with the 3 championships, is we all kind of know that there's still a core group of talent that's better than this, that they're not this bad. So, like, if they're historically bad, who cares? We know they're not this bad. We all expect that they'll at least compete next year. And I think that other teams don't have that to look forward to. And we at least see that when we watch the Giants. There still is, that tapped talent that's going to be there for a few years to come.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The future glimmer of hope is pretty strong with this one, even though, obviously there's some gaping holes that really have to get addressed by the team in the offseason, but it's like they're gaps. It's not like there's a team-wide just big void of nothing. There's a lot of talent that's underperforming this year, and there's also, a couple of holes that need some patching, like, say, the bullpen. But it's, it doesn't necessarily feel like the team is one piece away, but it also doesn't feel like the team, is going to need 7 years of rebuilding before they ever get anywhere back near contention either.
Yeah.
No, I don't think they're going to need 7 years, but I mean, right now the Giants have one of the worst ranked farm
maybe
systems
at least
in the
one.
league. Yeah. And like you said, I mean, we're having career worst years for a lot of these players. And the thing that concerns me is that even though that wasn't expected this year, when you have the continuation of the last 3 months of last year, when they had pretty much the worst or second worst record in the majors in the second half, and now they have the second or third worst record in the majors for the entire year, you're talking almost, by the time they end the season, it's going to be a year and a half straight of losing. And when you combine that with the fact that some of their veterans that they expected to perform much better than they did this year, there's very little hope that more than one or two of them are going to come back to their average or the mean next year. And so I'm a little bit worried that guys like Span and Pence and even Crawford,
like
for
their
that
best
matter.
years are behind them potentially.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of us could recognize that maybe Pence and Span and those guys who are getting into their mid-30s, that their best years are behind them, but that the drop-off wouldn't be as precipitous as it has been. And we're not talking just about hitting, but we're talking about defense too, which is very important in the pitcher-friendly park that AT&T is, because, we're not – if the Giants can't rely on home runs, they got to have good defense. And their defense has been just absolutely
They've had
abysmal
neither.
this year.
Right.
Yeah, it's been awful. So, you can't hit for power, but you also can't steal power away from the other team with good defense. So it's been a bit of a double whammy. And then you throw in, of course, the meltdown of the bullpen, the closers getting hurt, all the crazy injuries to Belt, to Panic, to Posey, to Crawford, to Morse, to,
Ye old
Cueto,
snake bit season.
to Bumgarner. I mean, you can just go down the list. It's been unbelievable. So it's been a maelstrom of shit for sure this year. But
it's just it's a North Pacific whirlpool worth of nothing.
yeah, no, it is. It's just like lake effect shit. It just keeps coming in, and I don't know what the Giants are going to do about it next year. I mean, Bobby Evans, whom it was funny because I was there during media day, and that was kind of one of the overarching themes all in the offseason. It was get a new closer and get a left fielder. We all know this. Well, they got their closer, which of course we know how that turned out this year.
Sam Dyson.
I'm not going to blame. Yeah, really, they got Sam Dyson. Great move. No, I mean, I'm not going to blame the Giants for that, because Melanson had been off the DL his entire career, and he had the most saves and one of the best lines of any reliever since 2013. So, again, that kind of just adds to the snake bit year that 2017 has been for the Giants, because you just
and it
couldn't
does
see
sound
this
like
coming.
he was playing through something, and there's nothing. You don't get anything good out of trying to play through something in a snake bit season at that point.
No, not at all, and that's interesting because I brought that up in the blog or on Facebook. It was one of those things where they know that Melanson is pitching through something and that he may, quote unquote, need surgery in the offseason, but he's just playing through it right now. But they're not worried about him actually exacerbating the injury. So my question, and many other people's questions, are, why do this? Why? I mean,
What is
there
it
a
that
point
you're
to
not
working
worried
him
about?
out?
Because nothing sounds good about that.
Maybe they're not worried about it because they don't factor him into their long-term plans as much as they thought they were going to.
Yeah, I don't.
Huh.
I mean, I don't see them getting rid of him before this next year because his market value is so low, and they owe.
No, I totally agree with that. But look, he's
so
already
much
had
money.
to take a diminished role since Dyson took over the closer role, because Dyson, he's been pretty lights out, and Melanson's had to take the lesser role. Maybe he has to take the lesser role again next year, and he has to force his way out anyways.
Yeah,
so the
maybe.
Giants are kind of like, well, whatever damage he wants to do, that's up to him and his future.
That's fair. I mean, Sam Dyson has already managed to collect a 2.22 ERA, and that's in 27 games, 28
But that's
innings
after he got
pitched.
shelled in his first game.
Right.
He got hammered
Right.
for a bunch of runs that skewed his ERA forever.
Right. I was going to say, since he became a closer, knowing how rough those initial outings when he first came onto the team were, since he became a closer, he's been doing considerably better. And I mean, even if you look at his FIP, I mean, he's throwing 383. So if you try and correct for ballparks, he's doing better than the majority. Well, I mean, I was going to say better than the majority of pitchers on the team, and then I realized that's not actually a really good standard to hold anyone to right now. Better FIP than him right now is Shark, Bum, and Strickland.
That's who I was
And
thinking,
Chris
Sharp.
Stratton, believe it or not.
Oh,
So that's the thing.
okay.
Well, Stratton's part of the reason that things are looking bright. Chad, you saw Stratton last Monday. He's looked like he struck out 10, I think, that night. He's looked like part of the future. Does this guy look like he's going to be part of the rotation?
No, it looked great. Milwaukee's an extremely good offensive team, and he really
Very
kept them off
hitter-friendly
balance.
park,
Yeah, exactly. And he
Yeah,
kept
so
them off
Buster
balance
loves
all
it.
night long. It was fantastic. And then last night, 6 innings, 2 runs, fine, no problem. I think he had 9 or 10 strikeouts last night in 6 innings, so it was a high strikeout percentage. And unfortunately, Matt Cain came
Held
in
him to
and-
one, right?
crap the bed. But Stratton
Cain
lately
did not
has
hold
been,
him to one. That's true.
no, not at all. He's been great, and I do think that he has a future on this club. And I don't want to digress too far, but when we want to talk about starting pitchers, did you see who the Giants put on waivers?
No, until you put that in the notes, I hadn't seen that.
Yeah, they put Samardzija and Moore on waivers.
Although
Restricted
the
waivers,
thing about
non-revocable waivers
Yeah.
or whatever.
exactly putting somebody on waivers at this stage in the season doesn't really mean a lot. I mean, you won't see the team
No.
put Buster on waivers, but
No.
putting somebody like Shark or Moore.
Yeah, and the idea was, in my mind anyway, is that, either they would have gotten an amazing offer for one of them,
Or they pull him back.
but yeah, they cleared waivers, so they didn't have to pull them back. But any offers that do come in, since they don't have to accept it, they at least get an idea of their market value. And so the idea is potentially they're just looking at what their market value is for the offseason.
This
So,
comes at
we'll
a
see.
time where before tonight's game, Cueto hinted, because he did a rehab start and he's going to come back apparently at the end of the week. Cueto hinted that he's not going to exercise his option. He said that he signed for the 6 years, and as long as everything's good, he's got to check one other thing with his agent. We're going to probably see Cueto around. So it would make sense that they would send 2 starting pitchers through waivers, because they're going to have to clear space because of guys like Stratton and Block have kicked their way into the rotation.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, you can't we're already at logjam status. How much longer does Matt Cain have on his contract? I don't even.
This is it.
This
This
is
is it, right?
because he has an option for next year, which of
Right.
course the Giants will decline. So
I think it's like an 8 million. Yeah, some.
I
some
think it's
buyout.
7
Yes.
or 8. So yeah, they're
Yeah.
going to decline it, and Matt Cain's either going to be done with baseball, or of course sign on with
Find a landing
some-
spot somewhere.
yeah, exactly. Some
Pull a
bullpen
Pablo
spot or-
Sandoval with some team.
Which, that's sad in its own right, because even though he's the longest tenured Giant and he did play with, Barry Bonds and he's been there forever, he's not, in terms of ultimate baseball age, that old. So it's just strange to see a guy who had so much talent and so much stamina and so, for lack of a better term, just bulletproof, because he was never injured until a couple years ago. It's just
Everything sort of happened all at once, yeah.
Yeah, it was just a precipitous fall, and he's such a great guy, and it just really sucks to see, because, when he signed that contract for, through 2018, because that was the option year, 2018, 3-4 years ago. To me, even though it was like, oh God, anytime these teams sign big long-term deals to these pitchers, it never seems to work out. I thought it was going to work out. I really did.
I thought that it might. I mean, it seemed like they might be front loading it a little, but he was going to be 32, 33 by the end of the contract. You didn't really see that as being
32
like a
right now.
And that's
That
what
wasn't
I mean.
like
He's not
a,
that old.
right. You weren't going to throw money at him up front in the hopes that he would get 4 good years and then 2 years of paying him money. You thought he might make it all the way through.
Yeah, just
So
for
it's a
whatever
bummer.
reason, wear and tear, bone spurs, his elbow issue, I don't know what, but
Yeah.
he's
Strangely,
just not the same guy he used to be.
I forgot that Cain and Shark are actually the 2 oldest guys in the rotation now. Huh. Right?
Wait, how old is Cueto?
Yeah, how old is Cueto? I
A
actually
year
don't know
younger?
that. Oh yeah.
Maybe a little less. Yeah,
'cause I
Cueto's
know
31
obviously
right
Bum's
now.
younger.
Cain and Samardzija are 32.
Okay.
Wow, and that's
Yeah.
wow, getting old.
And I
now.
mentioned that I don't feel good about the fact that all of them are, younger than me. I've finally crossed into that territory.
Well, that's what I was thinking during.
Welcome to
whole
the
game.
club, Ben. Welcome.
I
to
know.
The club.
I had to join you guys eventually, and I did it by the Giants not keeping Jake Peavy, apparently. So.
I am holding on. I am holding on
Right.
by a string. There is still one major league player older than me.
He has now beaten every major league team too.
Yes, he has.
Yep.
Yeah, the last guy to
Yeah,
do that was Huddy.
He's 44 and I am 43. I'm turning 44 in November. So he's edging me by 6 months or something like that. So
Wow.
thank you, Bartolo Colon, keeping my dream alive.
The janitor.
But once that happens, once he retires
hanging
after
on.
this year, I'm assuming he's retiring after this year.
Yeah. Why
Once
would
he's
he
out of
hang on?
baseball, then that's it. I will officially, there will not be a single major league player
Wait,
older than
what
me.
about Ichiro?
I thought he was 43.
Oh, I don't know. That's what I was asking. So he is younger
Yeah.
than you?
Yeah, he's just a little bit younger than me by a couple months or something like that.
The list can't be that long for me then.
Yeah, it's bad when you get to the point where like, yeah, no, the next person down is a little bit past me. It's like,
Yeah.
oh man.
I'm 38, and it's probably like a 10 total at this point.
Yeah, you're getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Ichiro was born October 22nd, 1973. So you're right. He's actually less than a month older than me.
Wow.
I was
Well,
born in
that's-
November. So he's about
That was a shot
25.
in the dark. Wasn't
He's
sure.
yeah, no, good job. He's about 25 days older than me. So there you go.
I mean,
Two
Ichiro's
major
got to have
leaguers.
like 3 years
Yeah, two
left in him
major
at this
leaguers.
rate, right?
Yeah, I think he
Yeah.
wants to keep playing. I think that's what I read this year.
I mean, he'd probably be one of the best, like, not power DHs a team has ever had. So,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
he's
oh yeah, you want a
252
DH that
this
can
year.
still actually kind of run?
Yeah. Yeah, 252 this year and 151 at bats. Not a lot, but, you know,
Yeah, he's the bench guy,
Yeah.
I think. For
bench guy.
Marlins now.
Yeah, totally.
I mean,
Well,
we
thanks.
saw him be a bench guy here, and then crush us off the bench here.
Thanks, Eric. That makes me feel
That
a little
happened.
bit better. Two
All right,
players.
yeah, there you go. It's not
Hopefully
just one,
they,
there's two.
they both don't retire this year, and I can go another year.
Live that
Short
dream.
lived though. But speaking of, you were getting to the whole thing about the log jam, and yeah, you're right. I mean, we got Shark, Cueto, Bum. Stratton's pushed himself in. Block's obviously been very good and serviceable, and of course Matt Moore, which is a huge question mark. But those are 6 starters I just mentioned right there. And they only got room for 5. So,
and
throughout
that's with
the year,
Cain coming off the books.
and that's with King coming off the books. And, every year, of course, 1 or 2 starters goes down for an extended period of time. So you always have these guys replacing each other. But, right now, Matt Moore is a huge question mark because even though he's had a couple of good starts here, he's just not, held up what we thought he was going to be. So they can't
Yeah.
easily get rid of him. But at the same time,
Well,
what
and
are they going to do with him?
is it a down year or is it a downturn question? And man, on the bright side, on my screen just now, Buster ain't having it. So that's always nice
Oh,
to
yeah?
see.
Did he throw someone out there?
Oh, sorry. Nope, that was Hundo ain't having it. That's right.
Oh, Hundo.
I forgot.
Okay, yeah.
You go back to Petco.
Buster's
and
got his
you have-
thumb injury. Yeah.
You go back to Petco, and Nick Hundley is behind the plate because Nick Hundley just is behind the plate at Petco. It's
Yeah.
what he does.
That's just what he does.
Just
That's right.
different uniform, but it's what he does.
All right.
I think Matt
Um,
Moore is the guy who's gone in the offseason, and I think the Giants will do whatever it takes to get rid of him.
You think so, huh?
I do.
I mean, I think that
I
they-
think they're done with him. I really do.
I think that they go for you try to get something major in return, even if you're just trying to restock the farm system, because he still has that alluring upside that he had when he first got traded to the Giants in the first place. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he's the
I mean,
kid that
if
gets moved.
he can't fall in line with Buster Posey and Dave Righetti, then he can't be fixed by the Giants. Let him go. You know what I mean? They've had their chance with him for a year and a half, and if Rags, who could be a Hall of Fame pitching coach at this point,
Right.
and Buster don't fix
down to
him.
Rags and Dave Duncan, and one of them can't fix you, it's hard to believe there's much left to fix. And yet, you never know. But yeah, I agree that if anybody gets moved this offseason, out of the rotation, it's definitely more. I don't know if you necessarily move anybody else, but I feel like we definitely don't have, a ton of guys like breaking down the walls to take over outfield positions yet. I mean, there's a chance that Slater or Parker might be able to hang on to a position, but
I think Parker's going to take the left field position, and Duggar is been promoted through the ranks this year, and he's been lighting it up. He's a guy who plays center field. He's quick, and he's got some pop in the bat, and he seems to be a guy that they've been talking about. So I think he could put a challenge in for Span. Like some of the tinkers might come in-house. We might not be seeing some magic signing in the offseason that makes us feel like, okay, the Giants are turning it around. They might decide to stay in-house with a lot of stuff and just try to get, like you said, farm system parts.
and that might pay off. It's true. I mean, it's weird because, the Giants farm system, like we sort of take it as a given that it's super depleted, and yet we've still managed to pull up a couple of surprising quality guys here and there, left and right, in order to make the season work. And that's part of why it's depleted, obviously. But Jones, Slater, Moncrief, even Kaliste, like in fits and starts and pieces, even though he's batting 176 right now. Like, he's had moments for sure. It's like there's stuff that you can still pull out of a heavily depleted farm system and that you won't expect, but still doesn't look good. There's a much smaller chance. It's you're getting to like Sergio Romo diamond in the rough status at this point with what's left of the farm system a little bit.
Well, it's true, and this leads me to, like, right under something Chad has alluded to in the notes. I said that I don't see them making a huge offseason move. The only huge offseason move I'd be on board with, like, is if they would do trade for Giancarlo Stanton or something like that. That would be the only way that I would see them making, like, a huge move or anything like that. I think they're going to plug and play as much as they can. Like, Beatty is got to get healthy and come back and see if maybe he can crack up there next year.
That's fair.
You know, but like, I keep looking at this. That would be one move though. Giancarlo Stanton, and apparently I saw it too. Chad wrote it in the notes. Apparently, it's been reported by Bob Nightingale that there are teams expressing interest, and the Giants are one of them.
Yeah, one with the most significant quote-unquote interest. But my question again is, the Marlins aren't stupid. And I know they may have a bit of a fire sale here, but they're not going to be desperate to the point of accepting a
Not
couple
Stanton
of
level
crappy...
desperate.
Yeah, exactly. And so the Giants don't have that much to give up unless they packaged quite a few major leaguers with a few minor leaguers, some of their top prospects. And would the Giants want to trade, Joe Panic and Brandon Crawford and a Dugard and a couple other prospects all for Stanton? I mean, that's probably the level that we're talking about it would take. This is not, we'll give you a couple minor leaguers for Stanton. No, of course not. The Marlins are going to expect a heck of a lot more than that.
I mean, or are they going to straight out
ready talent?
Is it just going to be like international allocation money and a bunch of other stuff? Like, you're looking at, like, yeah, Panic is a possibility. I mean, you could see, like, yeah, it's hard to believe somebody saying, hey, Panic and Crawford and Duger and, like, throw in somebody from like Jones or someone,
or some pitcher or something. Yeah.
Some pitcher, right? With us, you can almost always say some pitcher, no matter how the farm system is doing. That's a fair point,
right?
If there's one thing that Bobby Evans has always been excellent at drafting.
Yeah. The Giants crap pitchers out. I mean, like, look at everybody who just comes up through the system all of a sudden. Like, oh, look, this guy's good. Oh, look, this guy's good. That's why I say, like, Rags and
we'll send him to you with a little bit of Rigetti dust sprinkled on him.
Right. That's why they're fed up with Moore. Moore didn't come up through their system. Moore is not, like, you know what I mean? He didn't fall in line. Like, guys true. Like Samardzija, Cueto, but, like, they fell in line. I mean,
I guess Vogelsong technically came up through their system, but realistically, when Vogelsong got noticeable was after being on, like, the Pirates and then in Japan and then coming back. Like, there's guys that come around in that way that Rags can still kind of take care of or kind of get back to fighting shape. And, Moore has had his moments, not less so this season, but you start wondering at what point the Giants kind of decide, like, this is some cost for us. What do we do?
That's why I was going to say, that's why with the trade for, like, a big guy like Stanton or something like that, like, it seems like it'd be too much, like you said, to deplete everything else.
Yeah.
I mean, one guy for, 4 or 5, players. At this point with their system so depleted, that just doesn't seem like it would. I would think that even if he hit 35 to 40 home runs as a Giant, because, come on, he's not going to hit 50 or 60 like he is this year. We all know that. And he doesn't get injured, which he has been before. That production is great, but I don't think it could replace cumulatively the amount of production that those guys, at major league positions and potentially minor league positions are going to contribute to the club. I could be wrong about that, but his WAR, is what, 4? I'm guessing. I'm just literally off the top of my head. I'm thinking his WAR is 3 or 4 this year, Giancarlo. And if you add up the WAR from Panic and
gotta be right,
and Crawford and maybe a couple of these other guys, probably adds up to about the same. And so my question is, like, what are you really replacing? I mean, he's a great player.
Panic's like a 0.4 this season, and even Crawford's like a 1.4. I mean,
yeah, okay.
Like, nobody beats Posey and Belt on the war boards right now, and that's without
true.
being injured.
Because
mind
they're
you.
on base and all that crap. Yeah, exactly.
Right, exactly. And I mean, I'll go look up Stanton now, even though I'm going to hate myself for it. I'm just saying.
God. I'm gonna do it too.
But you know,
Go on war
Stanton
here.
is one of the few trades that you would look at and go, this is a guy that legit would be bigger than trading for Carlos Beltran. You know, there's not that many guys that the way that Beltran was hitting that year. There's not many guys that you'd look at and say if they traded for this, they'd have to give up more than they gave up when they gave up Zach Wheeler and change. And Stanton's that guy. And that's hard to look at. And at the same time, like, you know, the Giants have to express a ton of interest because they need it pretty bad. But it doesn't seem like something where you're really going to see like anything small. Like you've got to give up so much to get him that I almost feel like it's not even likely because we just don't have that much to give.
Mm-hmm.
Awkwardly enough.
All right, where's my war here?
Yeah, I can't find it. There we go.
Damn it, I was on mute.
Good gosh. That is a
God,
6.5.
Altuve's still at 7.1.
Yeah, that blows
God.
my mind. I had no idea
That's insane.
Altuve was so good.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
Altuve's
he's-
been really
he's
good,
stud.
but like 7 were good.
Yeah.
I don't watch enough Astros games. I don't know. And I can't watch Miami games because
Oh, okay,
screw Major League Baseball blackout rules. I don't get Marlins games.
All right, I was wrong on Stanton. I said 4. He's 6.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, he's 6.5.
Oh, right. Fielding.
Yeah, well, yeah, both, but still, I was a little bit.
I know.
higher
I was
than
looking at
thought.
his batting value.
Yeah, offensive
Good
WAR
grief.
is 5.9, which is still the bulk of it, but not so bad. Not so bad there. But it is what it is. I could look up the other two, but clearly they won't add up to Stanton now. But
No.
then again, Stanton's having a career year, so you know, let's not assume he's going to be hitting 50 to 60 home runs every year for the Giants. That's not going to happen. You know, he's never hit as many home runs as he has this year. So again, you know, getting sucked into the rest of that contract for $25 million a year for the next 4 years, he goes down with another injury for half a season or a full season. That's it. I mean, it's guaranteed, and the Giants eat it, and they did it for nothing. So it's the high risk, high reward. I wouldn't even put it necessarily at a high reward, to be honest. I really don't. If you have to give up too much, I don't think it's really that high of a reward. I think it's only a high reward if you kind of get a desperate Marlins giving you something that was undervalued for yourself. So, you know, you got a good deal, basically.
He
So,
fits
we'll
a
see.
mold for fans, and they just want to see it filled. That's really kind of
yeah.
what it boils
No, it'd be
down to.
sexy.
like, yeah.
Be sexy for marketing and everything, for sure.
And in a vacuum, Stanton's worth a ton. It's just that, like, depending on what you give up, do you ever really recoup that investment compared to how much? I mean, I guess what is this? The rumors are Giants have reportedly expressed strongest interest in Giancarlo Stanton, but you know, who's got anybody to give up right now
Yeah.
on that level?
Yeah, they don't.
I mean, we may just all be feeling like super jaded, just like, God, our farm system sucks. Our team is like, you know, the
Well,
worst
I mean,
season ever. But
Yeah,
like,
that's the thing. I'm not negative on the team. I feel fine about the future. Like, they'll figure it out again.
I mean, you
That's
know,
crazy.
when it's
Looking
like,
at the war leaders,
I
I
feel
just
like
want
the
to say
year is
this.
so.
Max Scherzer, number 1 at 6.7. Gio Gonzalez from the Nationals, again, number 2 at 6.6, ahead of Stanton. And then Rendon at number 7 with a 5.4. So Washington has 3 of the top 7 in WAR for the National League. That's insane. Wow.
They'll still blow
That's,
it.
I mean, this is that year for them, I guess. But man,
Yeah. Yeah, and the top 2, both of them pitchers. Well,
But it's not because the Dodgers are going to be in their way.
I
The Dodgers
hope
are so good.
I hope the Cardinals make it, because the Cardinals are the Dodgers' kryptonite in the playoffs. So,
Well,
that'd
I still
be
feel
fun
like
to
the
see.
Cubs match up well against the Dodgers, but now that
Of
the
course.
Dodgers can beat anybody and they don't get shut down by left-handers anymore, it really doesn't matter who they face.
No, I agree with you there.
you make a dark but good point.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Trust me.
Very dark.
Ben, I in a lot of time watching baseball, this is the best Dodgers team I've ever watched in my life, and I hate to say it.
I think it might be the best in even Vin Scully's life at this point. I'm not
It's
kidding.
entirely. Yeah, I know. I mean,
I was going to
records.
say them's the
records
strong words,
aside,
but yeah.
yeah, records aside, they click and they're talented. Like they could be down five runs and you still don't think they're going to lose. You know.
Yeah, that's just the beauty of the playoffs, though. You know, first round doesn't
Yep.
matter who they play. It's 5 games, man. 5 games. That's it.
Kershaw loses one and suddenly everything changes.
That's the thing,
still
right? Granted, you know, you play an 11-game series. I think the Dodgers win 9 out of 10 of those, no doubt. But you reduce it down to 5, yeah, they're going to win most of them, for sure. But maybe they lose 1 out of 5 of those, or 2 out of 7, or whatever. So, you know, the chances are at least higher that they just trip. Something happens. They have a bad game, you know, like you said, Kershaw blows one up, or, you know, Puig strikes out 4 times, or whatever.
We are the living epitome of anything can happen in the postseason.
Oh my God,
Right.
the Giants were 10-0 before they faced the Cubs last year, and I mean, come on, 10-0 is stupid. That's
In
just
series, not even in games. In series.
that's just stupid. But even that said, I think about what it took for the Giants to have that streak snapped last year. I know you can look, you know, a lot of baseball fans will look back in the annals and say, "Oh, they lost 3 games to one of the Cubs." Yeah, it wasn't even close. But of course, in reality, when you look back at it, the Giants, of course, had that 3-run lead in the 9th. We all know what happened. Blah blah blah. If they had won that game, which they would have 99 times out of 100, let's be honest, that was just a horrific collapse of events.
Like 49 out of 50. It was a bad bullpen year.
98 out of 100. They go back to Chicago with Cueto again, and you know he lost the first game 1-0. So, you know, I wouldn't say it was a coin flip, but the fact of the matter is, in hindsight, you never know. I mean, the Giants could have easily won that game and moved to 11-0 if it wasn't for the bullpen blowing that series. So, for the Giants to have existed that long and to have lost in such a dramatically, you know, painful fashion, you know, it had to end at some point. But the Dodgers, like we all know, I mean, they've won. This will be their 5th NL West title in a row, and they haven't gotten to the World Series yet. So they're having the exact opposite luck that the Giants have had, which is great for us, but for Giants fans. But in the same way that the Giants' luck ran out, which inevitably it had to, the Dodgers' luck this season, especially because they're being so dominant, could turn around and could be good. And what really sucks is that one of my friends the other day, and by the way, he's a Giants fan, and I won't say his name, he actually said, and I do not agree with this, just putting that out there preemptively, he said, you know what, the Dodgers winning the World Series this year would actually be really, really good for the rivalry, so I kind of want that. Now, after hitting him multiple times, I
mean,
I
the
kinda,
rivalry,
I kind of
sure.
understand it from an objective point of view, but the subjective point of me is like, no,
never,
and no,
never, and also never,
and also never,
and
because
also never.
we will never hear the end of it. Even if they win one, that'll be it. It'll be like, well, we won the most recent one. Well,
Yeah,
blah, 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 blah.
nothing until we get another one back. It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess from a, like, if you're, you know, I don't know, if you're Buster Olney and you're on the sidelines and you're reporting and you want to bring up some random topic that the average viewer at home is going to go, wow, I feel like I know something about this. It's going to be the rivalry, and it's going to be, you know, hey, wow, they'll both have one now, or at least one. And we'll be like, catch up. But besides that, like from our standpoint, you know, there's no way in which it is ever okay to let the Dodgers get one up on you, right?
Not at all.
And even if they're 2 down, they're 1 up because they'd have won one recently, and we would have looked like ass for the whole season.
Yeah.
Can you blame them? No, but
No.
there's no situation in which we want that.
No,
From a
I want
subjective-
them to
I mean,
become the
subjective
next
viewpoint.
Cubs. I want them to go 108 years. I want it to be, what is that, 2096 before they win.
Holy crap, that is good math.
That's what they need. It's
I
bad.
see. I kind of agree with that sentiment. I think it's good for the rivalry if the Dodgers do win it all, but I think that takes away from the Giants and paints them in a light like that they are not competing, and that they're only going to compete because the Dodgers did well. And I don't think that's the case, But I think it's fun for the fan part of the rivalry. Honestly, I don't mind that they have their day in the sun and we have to take it for a little bit right now, because I know plenty of Giants fans who gave Dodgers fans shit in 12 and 14 and I'm sure 10, but I wasn't on the
Karma
Twitter
always
system.
ends up coming back around, say the baseball gods. So
Right. So I mean, it's okay. All I think back to is when Brooklyn and New York had the Giants and the Dodgers and the Giants, and people would go to work all winter long and they'd be yapping about their Dodgers and their Giants, and those conversations would only be fun when those two teams are both good. So
I mean,
in
for
a
some
sense,
people who are mean-spirited, they are fun no matter what.
correct. I'm not one of those people. I like it more.
Me neither.
I hate that the Giants are crap right now because
If-
it's like
if one of the teams is
Dodgers
getting
fans
crushed,
talk,
you're just
we're
piling on.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing that we've always missed, that we haven't seen in, I guess, forever or ever, is the Giants and the Dodgers in the playoffs. And, what I was just talking about 5 minutes ago, if the Giants somehow had pulled off that win against the Cubs, they would have played the Dodgers in the NLCS.
In the CS, yeah.
And that would have been, I mean, come on.
That would have been something.
Come on.
I mean,
that
ESPN would have had a field day.
That's what. I mean, obviously, I'm very happy that the Dodgers
I would have
lost
been getting
and didn't make it to the World Series, but
morning emails from the
Oh.
MLB just about that for like a week straight.
man, Giants and Dodgers in the NLCS, it doesn't get any better because you can't meet in the World Series. That's it. That's the ultimate they could have, and it almost happened. It really
That's
did.
the joke
It was
is that's
one
the
game
World
away
Series.
from happening.
It
to be
almost
honest.
happened. It almost happened in 14.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, because they got eliminated by the Cardinals.
Right. That was I think that was a Matt Adams year or something like
in
that.
the NLDS. Yeah, the curveball
Right.
off of Kershaw hit off by Adams.
that
yeah,
was that
yeah.
year. Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, so there's
no,
been
you're right. It could
chance-
have happened that too. Yeah.
Yeah, so Giants aren't holding up their end of the bargain this year. So if the Dodgers want to win it all, fine, whatever, it'll make them happy. But that's not going to change the Giants' objective. I like it more when both teams are good. It just sucks that we have to take it on the chin this year. But it would be awesome if the Dodgers
40
could
games
lose
back.
games. They might finish 50.
No.
That's
Hey,
just
rivalry
insane.
Schadenfreude is very real.
Well, yeah, if they lose in Game 7 in the bottom of the ninth with 2 outs and 2 strikes, well, they can't because they'll have home field. So if they lose in Game 7 of the World Series, I'll be totally fine with that.
Yeah.
I won't be rooting for them if it comes down to it. I will never pull for the Dodgers just to make the rivalry better. I'm still going to root against them 100%.
It's been hard because some of my Dodger friends that I jab with, either at the gym or on Facebook or whatever, it's always like, oh, we got your lead. Oh, yeah, but we might get the wild card. We'll see what we do. And, obviously in 14, it turned out really well. And, 15, the Dodgers lost, even though the Giants were competitive. 16, of course, kind of similar thing. The Dodgers made it one step further, but both teams lost. They've both been kind of like, even-ish. And, of course, the Giants win the 3 World Series and the Dodgers none. So it's been real easy to kind of have one up on the Dodgers fan. This year has just been, just kind of walk in the gym. They're like, hey, so 35 now. Stuff like that, where you just kind of,
So
earlier in
41.
the year,
You're like,
earlier in the year, I could
that
come
it's not
back
any
with, 3 trophies, and that doesn't work anymore. That's just falling on deaf ears. They're just like, yeah, that doesn't work on me anymore. It's not kryptonite anymore. So, yeah.
I mean, it doesn't
Technically,
help
it
that
still
the
works,
Dodgers are historic. You know what I mean? They know that they're so historic, so they're kind of like, yeah, they're gonna win 110 games. That's how confident they feel because they're over 90. They're at 90, 1 wins already. So
Yeah,
it's they could
stupid.
win 115 games, 116 games still.
There was a really good silver lining I think McCovey Chronicles had a couple of weeks ago. And that was the fact of at least this year wasn't for example, last year they win 88 games, right? And they get the wild card.
At least
88
this isn't
games this year?
or 2003.
88 games this year is not going to win the wild card, and it's certainly not going to win the West. So at least they're tanking in the correct year because you have 3 division rivals for the championship and the 2 other wild cards. So If you were to choose a year, you said, okay, you will lose 100 games this year. Which year would you want? You would choose 2017. So there you go.
I
Let's
think
look at
that's
it
why
way.
I've been fine with, the crap year. It's like, whatever. The division was won in May, so who cares?
Yeah, no.
That's why like we get to enjoy things like the Players Weekend this past weekend with the
Yeah, I wanna
jerseys,
talk about that.
nicknames,
Mhm.
and stuff like that. Like we got to enjoy that more this year. Yeah, we'd enjoy it in a winning season, but the games would have mattered so much. This year we just get to kind of laugh and see and be a part of it. And again, you wrote in the notes like. The Players Weekend, I loved the Players Weekend. I loved the uniforms. I thought they were great. The orange could have been toned down, but I thought they were great.
The orange was a little much. I get that.
The orange was a little vibrant. Let's say
You could see it from. You know what, Ben? You can probably see it from outer space.
Yeah, you're above us
I
right
mean, how do you
now.
think I knew?
That's the thing. The Giants have always had that classic orange, and they went with the neon orange, and I don't know why. I honestly don't know why that was the deal. It's like, all right, give them orange jerseys, pullovers, give them orange caps. I get it, but give them the classic orange. Don't give them this damn neon crap. Oh man, that was hard. And the numbers on the back you could barely read. It was a. I did not like the Giants jerseys. There were some others.
It was like
however.
Marlinsy orange.
Yeah, there were some others,
Yeah, it
however,
was.
that I thought were actually pretty classic, fun, whatever. But Giants, not a good look. I didn't like it, but whatever.
Did you guys see there was a matchup of like the sheriff and not the robber, but there was another guy like the burglar or something was his nickname, and there was a pitcher named the sheriff, and they were facing off against each other.
No,
It was the sheriff and not the convict, outlaw versus
Oh,
sheriff.
right. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, did you see
I
what
love movies.
Melanson did with the three players on the Giants?
No, what'd I do?
So he tweeted at Sci-Fi Channel or Siffy, however you want to pronounce it, and
Sippy.
Siffy, and he said, "Hey, Sci-Fi, I got your next horror film for you." And so he had the shark, the horse, and park all lined up. So it said Shark Horse Park. So that was the hashtag Shark Horse Park. And someone actually picked up on it and actually photoshopped the shark with horse legs. It was pretty horrific.
Oh,
But
jeez.
In a tornado.
so yeah, some of the players had a lot of fun with it, with their nicknames. It was pretty cool. I think what was it? Hunter Pence had Wad Jawandi or whatever it was.
Wawandaji.
Thank you. Wow. you knew that,
Wawandaji.
right? Wawandaji. Thank you.
Because I've been trying to figure out how to pronounce it for like a month.
Jared Parker's
They
the one
announced
who
it.
came up with it too. Parker was the one who looked up the Swahili of lion hunter.
Of Lion Hunter, right?
Oh,
Yeah, no, that was fantastic. I mean, because
I was wondering where that came from is the funny thing, and I still was trying to figure out how to pronounce it without bothering to look up the etymology.
Wawandaji.
I think they're cool, and they're selling them for like $200.
Well
a pop.
then,
Yeah,
But
well,
I think they'd be
Good luck.
cool, if some of the proceeds went to little leagues or the youth Shriners Hospital or you know what I mean, some youth organization. Like they tie everything else in, so I think that would have been a good time. And
if nothing else, at least Brandon Crawford just hit one out at Petco.
oh, he does.
Oh, well,
fantastic.
how about that?
I'm looking forward to the next 30 seconds.
Well, no,
Yeah, I was
all the
going to
proceeds.
say, man, I'm really laggy. I can only imagine how much worse this can get.
All the profits from the sales of these jerseys are actually going to Little League, not Little League the league itself, but to youth baseball. So
Oh, really? I
Yeah,
did not
yeah.
know that.
Yeah.
Here I am calling them out for it.
yeah,
Jerks.
even though this is in honor of the Little League World Series weekend, it isn't exclusively going to Little League because Little League makes enough money by itself, clearly, with dues and everything else and fundraisers. But it's going to youth baseball, and I don't know exactly how that's being split up. So hopefully that's not just a we're donating to youth baseball, siphon over here, siphon over there, and here's $5 for some inner city baseball park. But anyway, that's what they say that they're doing. So hopefully that's being used wisely.
Well, that's good. I stand correct. I sit corrected.
Yeah, but yeah, $200 for a pullover jersey, a little crazy. But hey,
Huh.
what are you gonna do?
Yay! Brandon Crawford hit a home run.
Oh, there's your delay. There's your delay. All right, so we didn't talk about this because it happened in between podcasts. It's been a few weeks, but George Kontos, did anyone see that coming? Because I didn't.
No.
I don't feel like Kontos was the odd man out on that rotation.
That's
I mean, he
my
wasn't
thing,
having a
is
good
that-
year, but I didn't.
Yeah, he was not having a good year, but he had his moments.
And we'll call it what it is.
you know,
Sure.
Just last year in 2016, he had one of the best inherited runners scoring percentage in the major leagues.
But
and
he was throwing what, like
I
a
just-
383, and yeah, that's bad for a reliever. But I mean,
yeah, it wasn't.
I don't know.
It wasn't Matt Cain. I was just kidding. Yeah,
I
just
hate laughing at Matt Cain. Don't make me do that.
No, I love him.
Yeah.
I love him. I don't like. Believe me, if there's very few players I would want to see succeed more than Matt Cain, and I'm being honest about that. I think he's, because I have that personal connection, but just even that, the longest tenured Giant, and he's just a nice guy without much controversy or no controversy around
Really-
him. He just seems
really
like he
none.
deserves it. Yeah,
really
like
down
none.
to earth and just,
Yeah.
head down, nose grind, works hard.
Yeah,
but
and it's
You,
just
you can't
way it
help
works.
having to look at results to an extent, and the performance, even from a scouting perspective, the performance isn't there compared to the numbers, and you just have to kind of like, you get into like, well, I wish him well, but mode, and that's a shame with somebody that we've liked for as long as we've liked Matt Cain, but there you are.
Well,
Yeah,
apparently
yeah.
Kontos should have been doing what Cain's doing because he'd still be with the club.
Well, not quite, but okay.
No, I know. I didn't see Georgie going anywhere, but he was also the kind of guy that he popped up in 2012 as all of a sudden a bullpen guy that became key, and he hung around for a few years. Kontos was a good Giant.
Oh.
He'll go. He has 2 rings for his time.
2 rings. He's got 2 rings. He was almost part of the core 4. You could almost call him part of the core 5 if you want to stretch it that far. That's the way I looked at it. And I was surprised. I just, my thought was, okay, he's had a down year. Who hasn't on the Giants? Buster
Sure.
Posey, maybe. The rest of them have all had down years. So it just was odd to me that they said, we don't want to pay his salary anymore, so we're going to risk it by putting him on waivers and see what happens. And boom, Pittsburgh claims him, and that's it. The Giants aren't owed anything. So the Pirates get him for free. And it's just, I guess I didn't understand, aside from dumping his salary, what was the point of that? Because now they have to replace him. And I know they have
Did
some
they put him on
guys that are
waivers, or
looking-
did they straight DFA him?
No, they
No.
put him on waivers.
No, it was
Claimed him.
waivers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh claimed
Because I
him.
mean, when you DFA somebody, they line up on waivers anyway. So I had missed.
Oh,
whether
yeah,
they
that's
had,
different.
But yeah,
No, they didn't DFA him. So,
that's right. He just got put on waivers. You're right.
I guess
Yeah, that was unexpected.
I'm still struggling with the motivation, and so I'm wondering, and I've never read anything about this, but I wonder if there was an internal conflict, something that happened behind the scenes that no one knows about. Because other than
I
that,
feel like that seems. That doesn't seem that likely.
It doesn't
I almost
seem
wonder
like
if there
it.
was
yeah,
like a logjam situation where they wanted to try and get Stratton onto the roster, and they said, for starters, why don't we try this, and then we'll see. Or God, was Stratton already up by then? Stratton was already up by then, wasn't he?
He'd come up once, but I think he'd gone back down.
no,
when
he was
somebody
still down at the
else-
time, and so
Yeah.
that was the other thing is they got to clear a spot off the 40-man roster, and they were just kind of looking at their options, and they said, well, do we really think he's going to be a part of the future, even though he's not that bad right now? And so maybe they just said, okay, let's just see what happens here, and I don't know. I guess I don't understand the risk-reward thing, because if he's claimed they don't get anything for him, they clear a roster spot, of course, but they could have DFA'd him if they wanted to do that, right?
Yeah, but-
or he clears waivers, and then he comes back to the team, and then he's butthurt about it. So I don't know why they did it. I guess I'm just confused by that.
Why do it that way?
Well, I don't want to belittle Kontos, but guys like him are kind of a dime a dozen.
They
He's
can be,
not
yeah.
he's not a left-handed specialist. He's not a fire thrower. He's just a guy who gets outs. Generally speaking.
He's a serviceable middle of the pen or a
Right.
setup guy, depending.
Right, and I think that the reason it kind of came out of nowhere was because, as you mentioned, he's almost a core 5. So we'd grown an attachment to Kontos without even realizing it over the last few years.
Yeah.
Like, there was a time
Sure.
where Georgie was new, and it was like, oh, who's this new guy? And then all of a sudden, Kontos was just there. and he was just always there. And it's just
Always
weird
there
not
and doing good enough work.
right. And so just not seeing him on the roster.
Or sometimes excellent work too.
Right. We've lost that. When Kontos came in, I was not one of the people that were like, oh no, what's going to happen? It was like, okay, George generally has it, And I think that's kind of a blanket that we had with Kontos. And that's why some random reliever, just not clearing waivers, felt kind of strange. Like, really? So that's why I get the internal struggle thought, but I think it's just he's not part of the future. They think that he's going to be on his downside after this and had to take that gamble.
And I think that there's somebody else that they wanted to be able to try. And it might have been Stratton. I think that he came up right around that time, right?
No, he did. He came up right after that.
Yeah.
He replaced him on the roster. So that's
like
part
I
of the
don't
deal
trust my memory at this point. It's been a long couple of weeks. Not just with baseball, but also with baseball. So at this point, I'm just like they've all kind of blurred together a little bit. Yeah. I swear that this was the order these things happened in. I'm trying. I had coffee earlier today. I swear. I don't know if it's helped yet though.
It'll kick in right when you want to go to sleep.
Yeah, perfect. Since I drank it at like 3, so if it hasn't kicked in now, that's the only other logical time it could happen.
No, wow.
Sadly.
Delayed caffeine release. Doesn't bode well for you.
It just sits and it waits until you try to go to bed. Yeah, no, it's probably going to be fine. I'm going to do better tonight going to sleep than the Giants are trying to get a win. It's going to be fine.
Yeah, that's okay. I was able to distract myself yesterday with the Game of Thrones season finale anyway, so there you go. Which is
I've been watching an entirely different sport, some of the time. So it's a once a week sport, but I'm like 10 weeks behind on it. So I've just been binging that, and then every so often I'll either switch to the Giants game, or else my mom will run into the room and say, "Well, this happened," and a lot of the time it's things like the 9-run inning, and I go, "Great, thanks for letting me know about that."
Right?
It's fantastic.
Hey,
great for my podcasting knowledge and awful for everything else.
You gotta appreciate her for that, because there's fans out there, like God love them. There's people on Twitter that I see that watch
every game.
Right, I see the same groups of people watching every game, and I'm impressed. I really am. Like, Giants fans out there, those of you that are watching every game, that I salute you. I'm impressed. I will fully admit that since the Giants had a shit year, that there are plenty of times they'll be like, the Giants game, or do I want to go do this? All right, I'm going to go do this.
It starts at 10 p.m. Do I want to go to bed?
Right. Yeah. Oh, honestly, seriously, I can't tell you how many West Coast games I have not stayed up for this year.
No, it's hard.
Doesn't make me any less
in
of
good
a fan.
years. Yeah, no, even in good years, I miss a lot of games because, I got a family and I got stuff to do, and we have evening events and all that stuff, and I can only DVR so much, but when I get home at 11 o'clock, what am I going to do? I'm going to sit there for an hour until midnight? That's not going to happen, but like you said, this year, because they are so crappy, in years past when they were fighting for a wild card spot, or they were going for a record, or something like that was happening, there was interest to draw you in at least for a couple of innings or more. And then this year, you just kind of check your phone sometimes, like, I'm in the middle of, bathing the kids, helping them with their homework, doing all this other stuff. I check my phone and I see it's 5-0. The Giants are losing. It's hard. It's hard. Yeah. And I know that a lot of people out there listening to this are like, why the hell are you doing your podcast? Because we're fans and we still want this podcast to succeed, and we still want to do it. But from the day-to-day life aspect of it, it is hard to find the motivation when your team is so bad. And
3 hours a day can be tough to carve out, even when they're doing well. And I know that
I'll often start a game, but once they're down, it's kind of like, well, I'm not going to invest another 2 hours into this when they're down 5-0.
I didn't catch every Warriors game this season.
Yeah, exactly.
And they were fantastic.
No, and they were fantastic. Yeah.
But
well,
my mother's also retired, so you can pull that off.
What does she do for a living?
She sounds like
watch
a good
both
hang.
at the same time. Sometimes she was for a bit when the seasons overlapped. She would have the Warriors game on one screen, and she'll do that with like the Niners once in a while. Now she'll have one game on one screen, and then she'll have the Giants game on the other screen. I'm just like, how do you watch both at the same time? She goes, I only put on one audio feed, and I'll just kind of glance at the other one. Yeah. I'm like, when do you stand up from sitting and watching both of these at the same time? And don't you make fun of me for having 4 screens open at one time?
Yeah.
I
Does
do
she
this
wait for
stuff on
simultaneous
Sundays.
commercials, which is like a full moon? Does it happen like once
Right.
every 3 hours or something? So
No, after a certain
Simultaneous
point, you
commercials
go
are
or
the
whatever.
worst. When you're watching two screens, two sporting events.
Oh, and they're both on commercials.
Oh my god, that's the worst.
uh,
I do
good-
it all the
good for
time.
potty
I'll
breaks,
watch
though.
a Giants game on my phone or the tablet, and the Cubs game will be on, or like Sunday the Bears game was on. So like football will kind of creep in there. Well, wouldn't be basketball and stuff for me, but I do that all the time. I applaud your mom. She sounds like a cool lady.
No, that's
She's
awesome.
pretty great. And she's, I
Pretty
mean,
great.
it is kind of neat having somebody suddenly who's like, and not to say that she wasn't watching sports before. She had gotten back into watching sports a little bit after I got back into baseball real hard. But, what the problem was for the longest time, access was an issue because my family's never had cable, ever. We still don't have a cable line coming into the house. The difference is last year, or maybe it was early this year, I got DirecTV Now because, if you're watching on broadcast, you used to be able to catch like the Warriors on broadcast. You used to be able to catch the Giants on broadcast. And so for the longest time, the only way for us to follow them was either the radio or I'd have to get really lucky with some debatably legitimate way to watch a television thing on the internet. And that wasn't really cutting it. And so finally I said, okay, I'll try this out. And so I guess we effectively have cable now after a fashion, but we can only get it through the internet, which for some reason for me is like, well, I already had Netflix and Hulu before. So I guess I was eroding on the whole cable front anyway. But now, she can actually get these, and better yet, she doesn't have to pull up we don't have a TV in the same room as her computer, and she is a much better multitasker than I am, I think, sometimes. And I multitask like an idiot already. And so she can actually watch these on her screen now. And so the access is there. So it's one of those things that I never really thought of for a long time because, like, my dad stopped being able to watch Warriors games and he loved basketball because they would air on channels we couldn't get, whether it was NBC 11, which we can't get over the air from my part of San Francisco because it's broadcasting out of San Jose, or whether it was on channel 36, which we can't get very well in my part of San Francisco because you just can't.
So your family were fashionable cord cutters before cord cutting became fashionable.
We didn't start with a cord to cut in the first place,
Yeah,
I guess.
nothing to
I think
cut.
that I think the
Never had a
problem
cord.
was that at one point the problem was probably just that my dad had taped so many things off of broadcast that if he tried to tape anything off of cable, he'd have decision paralysis, and we'd also run out of places to put VHS tapes.
That's awesome.
But it was never a thing that we wanted to do. But one of the things that I always missed about it was that like as cable became bigger, that made the access part of it hard, and that's still something that makes it really difficult for people who are in this area and don't have cable and don't want to pay for a service like DirecTV Now, PlayStation View, whatever. And they can't get it on MLB TV because of blackout restrictions. If they just want to pay for baseball, they can have any of the other 28 teams that are playing except for the Giants and their opponent.
Yep.
Or like 26 because Oakland is also in this
There's
market.
Oakland too, yeah. So yeah,
Right.
26.
But it's
That's frustrating because they say, it'll work as long as you have your own cable provider and you log in with that. And you're like, well, then why the hell would I have MLB.TV?
right.
So yeah, it's frustrating.
That was a really strange tangent to go on. And now you guys know a lot about me.
I was giving a nod to the fans out there that are sticking through every inning of every game.
Well, and there are fans there now who have that opportunity that didn't before, or fans who wish they had that opportunity.
Right.
To be honest, like we were, like my household that couldn't watch the Giants up until the last year or two, on an easy, like legitimate feed. And it's funny because now that I have it, all of a sudden I'm like, oh god, this team's awful.
Yeah.
But it's the people that can stick it out, that either have or can devote the time to being able to do that, I respect the hell out of that because there are different ways to be a fan, just like there are different ways to do anything that you love. And if you're the kind of fan that says, I love this team so much that I'm willing to continue to take the other parts of my life and set them aside in order to be able to watch this team not succeed because I just love them, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's great, and I respect the heck out of that. But if you're one of those people that says, I still love the heck out of this team, I know who, 22 out of the 25-man roster is just by the numbers on their backs, but I don't watch every game because I've got things I have to do, and I've been watching every game since the team has been on and off good for the last 7 to 8 years, and you go, I can't do it right now. It's disheartening, and I have to be able to take care of myself and also other stuff I've got to do to have a life so I can keep making enough money to pay for cable to watch the Giants, and or for tickets because they've only gone down some for some games. It's okay to be that fan and to still say, like, I'm a diehard Giants fan. It doesn't take anything away from you to say I haven't been able to watch every single game of 162 games, one game every day this season. But, if somebody wants to rag on me for that, I get it. And that's okay. Like, you have your own way to watch it, and your way is to watch all of them, and that's awesome. But
technology makes it easier. Because I'm technology. Do you know how many times as I'm taking my morning constitution, I'm watching Giants highlights because I'm catching up on, what I missed the night before if I went to sleep. And that's amazing. I still get to be a fan and be in touch. I think as fans, we're more in touch, in this day and age than we were in the past. So it's just easier to be casual at this point.
In touch with the team, in touch with the games, in touch with each other.
Right. You can be sitting there doing nothing and you can literally open up the roster at any time. We couldn't do that, 10 years ago.
I get Twitter notifications on my phone whenever one of the beat writers says something. Like, that to me would have been unheard of maybe even 6 or 7 years ago. Mm-hmm. To be able to say I can keep up on all of the news in relation to my favorite team right now because it's coming through constantly. Every game.
It's information overload, so we as fans can pick and choose what we can consume and still be a knowledgeable fan without watching every inning. So, it's an interesting, time that we live in terms of sports and technology and information delivery. But, we all do what we can. Like you said, Ben, you said it very well, that it just kind of depends on what your access is, what your time is, and how you can use it. Doesn't mean that you're less or more of a fan than someone else. Just because someone can spend more time watching the games doesn't make them more of a fan, because you might do more reading or keep up on Twitter or do a podcast or do other things that, kind of replace maybe some of that lost time watching a game. So it's a really good point. As we wrap up here, no, it's great.
Yep.
As we wrap up here, I just wanted to say a couple of things. First of all, Eric, I know that you tweeted out a few days ago your first time at AT&T Park. That was a really fun read to go back and reread.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm going to put that back out here with the show notes. That was a lot of fun to kind of look at that, especially through your eyes because I was there that night, but to kind of reread your thoughts and emotions from the day. That was pretty cool. So check it out on TortureCast and also 2 Out Hits. Check Eric's Twitter feed. It'll be up there, and we retweeted it as well. Secondly,
I'll pin it to the top.
Oh, perfect. There you go.
Oh, well, I was gonna say I also had also in there. I should send you guys. I'll just text you guys the pictures of my collection of Giants memorabilia. Forget it.
Okay, we should put that up too.
Yeah. Do we? Are we at the point where we're just kind of descending into indifference, or do we have any guys to hate at the moment?
Oh, gosh.
I'm so different.
I'm
complete indifference.
Tonight. We have been doing this on and off, but you can go ahead.
Can I hate Hector Sanchez?
Well.
I mean,
yeah.
Half-heartedly.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I don't dislike Hector Sanchez, and yet we get crushed by Hector Sanchez regularly, so it's more of a spite dislike than anything else.
Oh, yeah, that's what it is. Knee jerk, but it's understandable.
Yeah, it's just it's a wah dislike.
He's got 5 home runs against the Giants and 4 home runs against another. That's the most home runs he has against any team, and it's against the Giants.
Yep. Because why not?
Yeah, well,
why not?
he's playing with a chip on his shoulder, and the Padres know that, and that's why they play him every time.
Yep.
Exactly.
And they should. It's working.
It's working, clearly.
The matchups bear that out. I'll go ahead and I'll make an honorary mention. And usually these are semi-serious honorary mentions, or I want to usually recognize somebody for whom something good has happened. But since we're running with a hate category today, I'd like our honorary mention to go ahead and be Tropical Storm Harvey, because screw you, Harvey, and our thoughts and our best wishes and probably a bit of our money, to be honest, goes out to the victims all over Houston. I've got friends who are, even though they're in Southern California, their families have had their first floor flooded, and everybody got out okay for the friends in question. Other friends that are without power or running water right now, that are just trying to hold it together, that are just kind of preparing for what could be the worst. It's really bad, and it's historically bad, and our best thoughts and any help that we can provide, and we encourage our listeners to be willing to do the same for those affected in Houston, and along the coast of Texas, because
real life.
I just wanted to make sure we ended on an actual.
No, that was the
serious
second thing I was going to
not
say. Was about
bad.
Harvey, and to pray for everyone in Texas. I have a cousin and his wife, and my aunt and uncle live right outside the Houston area, and one is doing. My cousin's doing okay. They're not in immediate flooding danger, but my aunt, she's Facebooking every 2 hours pictures from their front yard, and they have 6 acres or something like that back in this wooded area, and the water's creeping up on them. And as of a few hours ago, it was 20 feet from their house. The pictures look really scary, and so with another 3 or 4 days of rain, the prospects don't look very good. So obviously they're okay as of right now, or at least as of a couple hours now, ago. But a lot of people are being affected, so just pray for them.
Yeah, it's. I tweeted the other day, and I really haven't had much to say about it, because short of going and physically doing something, there's not much I can do. You just hope that, it's unbelievable. We've never seen anything like this in our lifetime. It's so harrowing to think that, that could happen. It's just such a big city like that. And it's fortunate to think of how many other cities are not in those climates. I'm in Florida. I always thought something like that would come through here before I would hear about Texas getting a 500-year storm. I mean, that's just unbelievable. So you even hear the Astros and Rangers will be playing their 3-game series in Tampa starting tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because the Rangers would not flip the home games with the Astros and switch them up for them. So the Astros lost their home games, and they'll be playing here in Florida instead.
Yeah, crazy. All right, well, that's going to do it for us. I don't want to end on a bad note, but
not to make levity out of it, but it's we had. So hopefully we'll only have better things to talk about the next time that we get together.
Giants suck and natural disasters. Ugh!
Right. So hopefully by next one it'll be Giants suck, and there goes that rebuilding effort. Great job, Well, I don't know. I got nothing, man.
Probably not. So anyway, thanks for listening to episode 128. Yes, I've got the number right this time. You can follow us collectively on Twitter at TortureCast or on Facebook. Just look up TortureCast there. Give us a good like. We're doing pretty well there. You can also follow us individually. Myself at ChadK21, Ben at Fried Duck. That's 2 Ds there, Fried Duck. And Eric at 2 Out Hits, that's with the number 2. And for the absent Willie, at Willie Dills. Do you guys have anything to pimp or promote?
Nope.
Not at the moment. Hopefully within a couple of shows I might, but I've been in hard on work and other things, so most of the other projects I've been on are temporarily on pause. So
yeah, I have a lot of things I've been on hold for about 3 years, so I know.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
I mean, I'm getting there. I got to start the counter.
It's like, all right, I have notes that are literally 3 years old, and
oh my god, totally.
On them.
Yeah, you got to start with a 6-month hiatus before you can work your way up to a 3-year hiatus, man. Like I got to start small.
Pod
I got
fading
aspirations,
for
all right?
sure. Yeah, no doubt. All right, so for all 4 of us, we're going to be signing off for 128, and we'll be back next week for 129. Hopefully the Giants will not lose more than once. Sorry, that was just a really bad promise there.
You say that.
I say that
maybe
like it could
they'll
happen.
finish August with a winning record. Maybe next time we talk,
They'll
they will
break
have
the
had a
losing
winning
month streak. Yeah,
Right.
We'll see. Yeah, not so much. So now I'm going to be trying to go to a game here in a couple of weeks, but hopefully we'll be podcasting next week, so we'll talk about it then. So for all four of us, this is Chad signing off for 128. We'll see you next time. Boom.
A big thank you to everybody for listening to the Torture Cast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Follow us on Twitter at TortureCast. You can also like us on Facebook or check out our blog at torturecast.com. I also want to say thank you to Ashcon and Bailey for letting us use their song Feeling Like a Giant for our intro. For Ben Lee and Chad King, my name is Willie Dills saying, we'll see you next time.